Crazy happenings in the job market. We've talked a lot in past several weeks or so about the Great Resignation that's happening, people kind of leaving their jobs. Now we're getting into the seasonal job scenario that we come across every week. So we called in, like we do, Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing, to get some thoughts on these things. Hey, Chris, good morning.
Hey, Pete, good morning and happy Thursday to you.
Yes, back at you, sir. It's been a few since we talked last, but what are your thoughts, Chris, on the newest unemployment numbers and kind of what we're looking at in the job market today?
Well, Pete, you've been kind enough to have me on your show for a lot of Thursdays over the last year or so, and at one point we were talking about millions of people on unemployment, but for most of the time we were talking about 400, 500, 600,000 this year. And we're getting back to some really reasonable numbers. The numbers dropped 10,000 last week to 281. I'm not sure many of us have a good memory of pre-pandemic, but we were averaging about 218,000. I really think we're going to be back to pre-pandemic numbers by the end of the year. Employers are holding on to workers. Supply chain issues aside, there's very few layoffs, and of course, jobs are plentiful.
Yeah, sure thing. And yet we have this scenario, again, we call it the Great Resignation, or some have, basically people quitting their jobs at record rates over the past few months. I think it's important to kind of put this in some perspective. What would you say about that in terms of job seekers, but also hiring managers out there?
Well, Pete, the most interesting fact I found is that baby boomers have accelerated their retirement. In fact, one of the biggest challenges is 3 million baby boomers retired early, meaning retired 2 to 4 years earlier than they had planned. And, whether it was health concerns with COVID or, growing 401ks that kind of embolden folks, retirement savings, that's going to take a few years just to sort itself out. It's no wonder it's caused some disruption. But I think that has something to do with this quit rate. The other thing is, Pete, I think during a lot of our dialogues, there was just a lack of confidence in the job market. So different from this discussion today. But I think the average job seeker is, everywhere you go, you see record job postings. There's now hiring signs. There's sign-on bonuses. Wages are starting to go up. So when it comes right down to it, folks are quitting for higher wages, better schedules, or more flexibility.
Right.
And with rising costs, folks need to take care of themselves. So it's a perfect storm.
I remember back in school when they were teaching us the quote-unquote the new math. I would almost call some of this the new math, where people have sat down and kind of figured out, okay, as you said, maybe my 401k is a little fatter than I planned on it being at this time, or, maybe I don't want to go to work on a daily basis or in this industry, and how can I curb my finances potentially to get a lifestyle that's more conducive to good mental and physical health. I think a lot of people have been doing that new math, if you want to call it that.
And the circumstances support it.
Yeah.
Now, on the employer side, you've just got to, new math is a great way to think about it. It's a brave new world.
Yeah.
And you may have been an attractive employer. You may have paid competitive rates. You may have been the one. All that's new math is changing even that. And we're challenging companies to rethink all of that and make sure they're well set up to attract what workers want right now.
So status quo, if you're an employer, could be a bad position in some ways?
I honestly believe so, and most of it has to do with wage pressures. If you've been the brand in town that just got all the talent, folks are going for the money. And I don't know. I don't blame folks. If you're making $15 an hour and you can get 19, I can't argue with that.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Hard to believe. I mean, time flies by. And case in point, we are on the cusp here of the holiday shopping season, a.k.a. the holiday hiring season, Chris. What do you think the outlook is for people looking for that seasonal position, that side hustle during the holidays?
Well, I hope you'll get me socks again this year, Pete. I really do.
It's the gift that keeps on giving,
It absolutely is. It's practical. But, Pete, this is a job market where you can ask for money You can work whatever shift you want. You can have it your way. All we hear is about how supply chain is impacting, products in the grocery store, at the hardware store, and it's just putting pressure on businesses to start even earlier with seasonal hiring. So yes, holiday, Christmas stuff and Halloween is a little nutty, but I think it's really related to the sort of piling up of issues, and it's just causing e-commerce and retail and hospitality to just do things so much quicker to try and survive.
Yeah.
But if you're a teenager or a college student, this is a great chance to work and build experiences that you don't get in a normal seasonal situation.
It's interesting, too, and I just read this story a few minutes ago, and I hadn't really given it much thought. Perhaps I should have, that the really biggest of the retailers, the Targets, the Amazons, Walmarts, have been doing workarounds to the supply chain issues, hiring their own ships and going and getting the stuff that they need. And these guys are banking on a huge holiday shopping season as a result of some of the moves that they've made.
Yeah, I've read some of that stuff too, and it is a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
But they're going direct.
Yeah.
I think it's Pete, I think it's the same thing that's going to take a bit, but maybe not everything will be made where it is.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot more done in North America. And we're learning some valuable lessons about, it was very lean. It was very productive during, a normal world. But I think it's caused us to rethink everything. And it's causing wage pressures and certainly causing products and services to cost a little bit more as this all shakes out.
That's a great point. When reliability breaks down, as in the reliability of getting from point A to B, when that goes down the tubes, that's a big problem in that math. And that's a wonderful point. It'll be interesting to see if that Made in America label is a little bit more present moving down the road. Hey, Chris, thanks very much, as always. Before we go, though, just give folks a little bit of insight into My Placers if they want to check that out.
I'd be happy to. So Placers is a staffing firm. And as you hear from my talk today, it can be confusing even in a great market to figure out, jobs and resumes and that stuff. And Placers is here to help the workforce. Our discussion is about all the issues that employers are having. And, we have relationships with most of Delaware's employers, and we can help get you that job. And, Pete, I look forward to seeing you soon on another Thursday.
Sounds good. Chris Burkhard joining us from Placer Staffing this morning. Chris, thank you.